I do.
Okay.
I think she has preached for us before.
She said she'd be willing to do some stuff
Nice.
for us.
Yeah, would
I
you
know-
email that to me?
Yeah, I will.
With her contact info?
Yeah, yeah. I think her boyfriend is now like the youth minister in Milwaukee. What's his name? Anyway,
Okay.
there's some connections.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. If you'd take your seats, please, we'd like to start the service.
Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Jen Simpkins. My pronouns are she, hers. I'm your worship assistant this morning. It is good to be together. We come to this place this morning, glorious with differences, and yet here we all are, united by the love which is at the center of our faith, united by a future we know is coming, but we do not yet see, one we are committed to bringing into being. In this church, all of who you are is welcome, but more than that, all of who you are is celebrated, embraced, delighted in. We delight in your gender euphoria. When you look at her and your face beams with joy, our hearts are joyful with you. We celebrate how love has shown up in your life and the people you call family. We are thankful for the countries, cultures, and communities that have shaped you. We celebrate the work that you are doing and your place in the fight, whatever your role may be. We honor the road that brought you here and are grateful for that we will walk side by side. We hold tender the places of you that are raw. All of who you are is welcome, even those raw places, especially those raw places. Welcome this morning to all of us. Welcome our rough edges, our boisterous laughs, our ridiculous, beautiful hearts. Welcome. May we see the beloved community that we believe in because we create it here first.
Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace. Thank you. And please rise in body or in spirit and join hymn number 225, O come, Emmanuel. O come, Emmanuel, and with your captive children dwell. Give comfort to all exiles here, and to the aching heart bid cheer. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel, come within as love to dwell. Oh, come, you splendor very bright, as joy that never yields to might. Oh, come and turn all hearts to peace, that greed and war at last shall cease. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as truth to dwell. Oh, come, you dayspring, come and cheer our spirits by your presence here, and dawn in every broken soul as vision that can see the whole. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as light to dwell. Oh, come, you wisdom from on high, from depths that hide within a sigh, to temper knowledge with our care, to tender every act of prayer. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as hope to dwell.
And now it's time for the message for all ages, so if all the children and those young in heart can come on forward. So this morning, I'm going to read this book called Just One Little Light, written by Kat Ye. And what I'm going to do is I have a whole basket of candles. So each of you, I want you to each take one. So we're going to pass it around. So we'll just pass the basket. And when I read the story, I'm going to say the words, just one little light. So when you hear the word one, that Abby is going to, maybe Abby's going to move to the middle so she can reach all of you. She's going to like tap on someone's shoulder or their knee, and that means that you're going to come up and light your candle and put it on this table. Okay? And if there's more at the end, you probably, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, you might be able to do a second one. So when I say the words, so just one little light, you're going to come up, well, someone's going to come up and put their light. Abby's going to tap you so that you know who, so that you all run up at the same time. When you find yourself in the dark, the deepest dark, darkest dark, remind yourself you always have a light. And as you wander, you will wonder how something so small can be enough when everything around you feels so big. But one little light, just one little light, is enough to light the way and reveal what lies in your path. If you're afraid, just take a breath and hold those words safely within. One little light cannot light the whole sky, but it is enough to begin. And when you find yourself dark, that deepest, darkest dark of darks, remind yourself you always have a light. And still you may wander, and still you may wonder how something so small will ever be enough when your fears are so big. But one little light, just one little light, is enough to light the way and reveal something you never thought you'd find. If you're still afraid, just take a chance and say to yourself once again, one little light cannot light the whole sky, but it is enough to begin. You'll remind yourself whenever it's dark that you can always find the light, and you'll wander and wonder that something so small was enough to start something so big. For one little light, just one little light, is enough to light the way and reveal how far you've come. And those times you feel sad, you feel afraid, you will still take that leap knowing you could do it again and again, just because one little light, just one little light, one little light. Your one little light cannot light the whole sky, but it is enough to begin. And now it's time for the children's blessing.
There are many ways we give to the life of our church, and the monetary offering is just one of these ways. Each month, we partner with a local organization and share the money we collect. Our partner in December is Peace Learning Circles. Joe Mandy was going to speak to us about his organization this morning, but unfortunately, he was delayed getting back home to Racine because of bad weather back east. So we'll hear from him next week. But here's a brief explanation of the good work they're doing, and Mary Beth Zulke will be available during coffee hour if you have any additional questions. Peace Learning Circles is a nonprofit organization that promotes and teaches peace building and bullying prevention strategies to elementary school students and teachers in Racine and Kenosha. This is our 19th year of teaching workshops in schools. This past year, we taught 100 workshops from September through May. Our strategies include teamwork, resiliency, respecting diversity, positive mind setting, breathing exercises, developing listening skills, and teaching students about pioneers in diversity like Corinne Owens from Racine. Corinne Owens from Racine. We demonstrate ways to be kind every day, to have empathy for others, and how to prevent bullying. We continue to be under great demand and appreciate any support we get. More information on how to donate can be found on the back of your order of service or our website. Thank you, as always, for your generosity. That was beautiful. Thank you for that music. Part of being in community is sharing our joys and our sorrows with one another. And this morning you will have two opportunities to share, by either lighting a candle or sharing it at the microphone with the congregation. If you would like to speak your joy or sorrow to the community, I'd ask that you'd come forward first. If you'd like to light a candle for a joy or sorrow that is on your heart, I'll invite you to come up after the spoken joys and sorrows. Just a reminder that our service is streamed online, so please be sure that any spoken joy or sorrow you share is one that you're comfortable sharing with a wider community than just inside these walls with us this morning. So if you have a spoken joy or sorrow you would like to share, please come forward at this time. Okay, we're feeling quiet this morning. If you would like to light a candle for a joy or sorrow that's on your hearts, you may come forward at this time. And we light a final candle for the joys and sorrows that are on the hearts of our beloveds joining us online. There is a love holding us always. May we rest in that love. Amen and blessed be. All are invited to join in singing There is a Love. The words are in your order of service.
I'm a conditional atheist. God does not exist for me on the tip of a sharpened sword or on the lips of a sermonizing hate evangelist who is foaming at the mouth or in the licking flames of a torch held by a marching bigot, or in any dogma that have been soaked in the ancient poison of guilt and self-shame. The divine doesn't exist for me anywhere where wounds are being caused in its name. I don't know about how any of this works, but I've never found much of God in the towering hierarchy of unchecked power. The great mystery isn't a cracking whip or a flag or an internet manifesto or a pointed finger or a political party or a dividing line or a box of ammo or a Corvette driven by a TV preacher or a specific gender or a book bonfire. Creation is more of a florist than she is a fundamentalist. The weaver of life is more interested in stitching us together into a quilt than how to separate us into metal bins. To come into relationship with unending love shouldn't require us to loathe ourselves. It should be the exact opposite. To know ourselves is to know God. To love ourselves is to love God. My love, I believe that the divine is just about everywhere, except in the slow poison sands of fear and control, where so many have built temples for us to worship inside. In those places, I am an atheist. But everywhere else, there is so much fertile soil where we can let the sunflowers of empathy grow wildly in the spaces between us. And I've heard that if we remain still and listen so very closely, these evangelizing sunflowers will whisper to each of us a secret that we once knew while we were walking in the cosmic womb. We are all loved equally. And so welcome, you who come in need of healing, confused or have been betrayed. Welcome with your problems and your pain. Welcome too with your joys and your wonderings. Welcome your need to hope, your longing for assurance. Instead of answers, here may you find safety for your questions. Instead of promises, may you find community for your struggles. People with hands and hearts to join you, engaging in the challenges and changes of our day. It's a tough time to be a liberal. Our hearts and our egos have taken a beating. Many of us have wondered how we can go on under a political climate like this. We don't have to look very far into our Unitarian Universalist past to find both kindred spirit and inspiration. James Reeb, a white Unitarian minister, became nationally known as a martyr to the civil rights cause when he died on March 11th, 1965, in Selma, Alabama, after being attacked by a group of white supremacists. Reeb had traveled to Selma to answer Martin Luther King's call for clergy to support the nonviolent protest movement for voting rights there. Delivering Reeb's eulogy, Dr. King called him a shining example of manhood at its best. We cannot only do the work when it is easy. We can rest, but we will not cease. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe that the heart of this democracy is the promise of the people, our hopes and our dreams. We are the democracy and the stewards of this promise. the practitioners of this sacred work. Many people are surprised to learn that lighting a chalice as part of worship only found its way into Unitarian Universalist congregations in the early 1980s. But the path it took to reach the sanctuary is a very Unitarian Universalist one, a story that begins with Nazi resistors and ends with children in a religious education program. Originally, the flaming chalice was a two-dimensional image stamped on documents created by the Unitarian Service Committee to help Jewish refugees escape Nazi persecution on the eve of World War II. The design had been hastily put together by the artist Hans Deutsch, himself a refugee. Deutsch was working at the direction of the USC's director, the Reverend Charles Joy, who believed that such a logo would make their paperwork look more official. Reverend Joy would later claim that the design was reminiscent of the lamps of holy oil used by the ancient Greeks and Romans on their altars, and that the flame itself represented a spirit of helpfulness and sacrifice. And so we light our chalice each Sunday when we worship together, when we honor the Sabbath. Wayne Muller tells us that Sabbath time can be a revolutionary challenge to the violence of overwork, mindless accumulation, and the endless multiplication of desires, responsibilities, and accomplishments. Sabbath is a way of being in time where we remember who we are, remember what we know, and taste the gifts of spirit and eternity. Like a path through the forest, Sabbath creates a marker for ourselves. So if we are lost, we can find a way back to our center. And so I want to go to a conversation I had this week, and it sounds a little bit like high school. So Suzanne talked to Lisa, and Lisa asked Suzanne, does anyone know anything about grief? Because I'm doing this program with Reverend Darren. And Suzanne said, well, you should talk to Patty. And Lisa said, well, what does Patty know about grief? And I realized that a lot of you don't know much about my background. And the first thing that you should know is that I was born to a family that was grieving. My mom realized that she was pregnant just a few weeks after my dad had died quite suddenly. And she had told me the story about she and my dad had been together, and he had a bad heart. And he said to her, we're not going to be doing that again anytime soon. And he went to the hospital and ended up passing away, and then she found out that she was pregnant. And so Mom and I often spread the rumor that women in our family can kill a man with our sexual prowess, but that's a story for another day. And so I have an older brother who's about 10 years older than I am. And so this little baby being born into this family of grief, I think that's where this theater persona came from. That was the only way that I could get attention, was by being that bubbly Shirley Temple, elicit a laugh sort of personality. And so I got into the theater and, ended up having that be my avocation. When I was a stay-at-home mom in the year 2000, I got a part-time job at a funeral home selling pre-need burial insurance, and I was really, really bad at it. I have no selling chops whatsoever. But one day a family was there and they wanted to have, by this time I was a Unitarian Universalist, and they wanted to have a funeral for Grandma, but somebody said, well, Grandma didn't believe in God. How can we have a funeral for somebody who didn't believe in God? And I happened to be standing outside the room, and I thought, well, what does Grandma's belief in God have to do with whether you have a funeral for her or not? And so I said, well, I could put together a service for Grandma, and a new vocation was born. So for about 11 years, I worked at a funeral home in Kenosha and did put together funeral services, served several hundred families during that time, ended up getting divorced, went back to school to become a licensed funeral director, gave up that profession after a few years. If you want to hear why I gave up the profession, you're going to have to buy me a drink. But I still do quite a bit of officiating at funeral services. And that's really the part of the profession that really has my heart. And I've had to do services for way too many Unitarian Universalist friends in the last couple of years. Right at the beginning of the pandemic, my very best friend, we were big boy waitresses together, passed away and we had to have a socially distanced funeral. She was one of 8 kids, and there was only 20 people at her funeral. It was just crazy. But so that's why Suzanne told Lisa to call me about the grief stuff. But I also know a little bit about grief as a Unitarian Universalist. And so I understand that whatever side of the vote that you were on, whether to keep your building or to get rid of your building, I understand that there's a lot of grief involved in that. And I'm just going to tell you one little story. One of our ministers was a woman named Georgette Wonders, and she was an older minister when she came to us, but she was a brand new minister. She had just been ordained. It was a second or third or fourth vocation for her in her life. And I had been on the worship committee with her for quite a few years, and I kind of had started to feel a little bit taken advantage of. Didn't feel like my gifts were being appreciated, not just by her, but by other people on the committee, and I just wasn't feeling it anymore. I'd probably been a UU for about 10 years, and I was on that, and I know other people have been there, where you on that do I need to quit the church balance sort of thing? And I decided to, at the worship committee meeting, I made an announcement. I'm taking a 6-month sabbatical. I'm taking a sabbatical, and well, we wish you well, and we'll make an announcement in the church newsletter. And the minister said, and I'm going to write you a heartfelt letter expressing my thanks, and telling you how much you've meant to this committee. And so I took my sabbatical, and the newsletter article was never written. The letter never came. But I had a fabulous sabbatical. that was the only UU church I had ever been to. And so I visited a bunch of other UU churches, a lot of the ones in Milwaukee, the big one town, the one out in like Brookfield, went to a bunch in Chicago, learned that there's not just one way of doing things, that there's all sorts of other ways of doing things. Learned that my institutional memory was not the be-all and end-all of Unitarian Universalism, and that there was other people who worshiped in different ways than the way I worshiped. Some of them didn't appeal to me at all, and others appealed to me in ways that blew my mind. It was fabulous. And at the end of the 6 months, I went back to my home church, not because it had changed, but because I had changed, and because that was still my home, and it was worth fighting for. So I got one more little story. About 2 years ago, my cousin Eric came into town, and he's my cousin Heidi's brother. My cousin Heidi and I are besties. And Eric came into town from Oregon. And if you've ever been to Oregon, I don't know if you saw him. He's the guy with the ponytail, the tie-dye shirt. He's a glass blower. You know, he's the one out there. So Eric came into town for Christmas, and we brought him to the Bradford Church's solstice service. Now, if you've never been to the Bradford solstice service, we go all out on this. It's probably the best attended service. We completely transform the sanctuary. The seating is in 2 huge circles. We call the directions. We have dancing witches come. It's fabulous. There's 100 people there. It's just amazing. We chant, we sing, there's fire. It's incredible. So we were there. My cousin Eric was there. He was duly impressed. And, you know, anybody who's been a Unitarian long enough, you've been at enough family gatherings with the regular Christian folks where if you told them you went to a solstice celebration, it would have gone over lead balloons. So we were just so thrilled that we could share solstice with a family member who got it and celebrated with us. And so we were all happy. And after the solstice celebration was over and we were sharing coffee and punch and cookies, I noticed there was a woman there who I had known for many years. She had been I don't know that she was ever a member of Bradford, but she was, you know, if she was Catholic, you'd call her like an Easter and Christmas Catholic. She would come every once in a while, and I said, "Oh, hi, nice to see you." I hadn't seen her in at least 10 years, and I said, "Did you have a good time at the service tonight?" And she said, "You know, I liked it much better years ago when it used to be more contemplative." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that, you know." And she went away, and I thought, and I got it that she was sad, and she wanted that place to be there, that institutional memory. She wanted that thing that she remembered to be there for her. But she couldn't be present to all those people that had become part of that community in the 10 years that she had been absent. All of those joyful faces and all of those singing and dancing members of the church who had become vibrant personalities, who had been there Sunday after Sunday, who had brought their families, who had brought their children. And so I get that she was sad that the institutional memory didn't stand still for her, that it wasn't there for her anymore. But time couldn't stand still. And she hadn't been there that whole time. And so, how could the expectation be that she could walk back in and it would be there how she had remembered it? So I get her grief. I get that she wanted to walk in. Familiar thing, place, experience that she remembered. And it's okay to be sad when you have to let go of that place, of that experience, of that memory. But we have to remember that every time we open our doors, every time we meet for a different congregation, and we have our institutional memory, but it's not the be-all and end-all. We can keep that in our hearts, but we can't insist that other people honor it the same way that we do. And it's heartbreaking. And so we will finish as we started with a poem by John Riddell. No, this isn't about weakness. Someday these tears in your eyes won't feel like bullets loaded into the chamber of a gun anymore. They will feel like delicate blue eggs trembling right before they hatch. Someday tears of yours will smell like sweet vanilla French toast on the griddle. Someday your tears will be a salty waterfall of all of the sunshine and all of the thunder and all of the courage and all of the grace and all of the redemption that has ever existed in your story. Your tears will form rosary beads between your fingers, and saints of old will line up to help you count your prayers. Someday scientists will study your tears under microscopes to observe the unmistakable DNA of how you survived the dark night hidden inside of them. Someday you won't hold back your tears anymore, and you will become a fountain of raw human authenticity that dreamers will throw coins in. Someday a tear is going to slide off the slope of your nose down into the soil of your bare toes, and if you stand really still, an hour later you will be planted in the middle of a rose bush. Someday a robot will be asked to cry to prove that it has a soul, because I can't think of any other way to figure that out. Someday, while you are softly crying during a funeral, you will feel an invisible hand lace itself inside of yours. Then an unseen voice will whisper in your ear, "Baby, we go on and on and on." Someday, instead of shaking hands at the start of a conversation, we will just rest our palms on each other's cheeks and feel the grooves that the tears have formed in our faces hum for one another. Someday my tears will sing Amazing Grace while they pour down my cracked and wrinkled face. Someday when our souls leave our bodies, our spirits will float up to heaven on a wave consisting of every single tear that we ever produced. Someday we won't cry when relationships end, but we will sob at the very moment they begin. Someday the best lesson you will ever learn will come from a single fat daddy teardrop that is resting somewhere between your cheek and chin. No, this isn't about weakness. Tears are the strongest element I know. Amen. Please rise in body or in spirit and sing strongly from your heart. Hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit. This power, our separate fires will kindle this flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather in sympathy once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. So we extinguish our chalice flame, but of course we keep the lights of our youth burning, because if that's not a metaphor, I don't know what is. We extinguish our chalice flame, daring to carry forward the vision of this free faith, that freedom, reason, and justice will one day prevail in this nation and across the earth. All right. So please just take a moment to be present, to pause and notice how you are in this moment. Our work here this morning is at an end, but our work in the world has just begun. The work of holding one another and this community in love, the work of trusting that we are on the right path, the work of believing that what connects us is stronger than what separates us, the work of engaging in that which makes us whole, the work of deeper understanding and commitment, the work of letting go of that which does not serve us, the work of radical inclusion, the work of collective liberation, the work of this beloved community, a beloved community of which we are all a part, a place where we are welcomed, respected, valued, cherished, a place where we belong. Go in peace. Amen, and blessed be.
Good morning. I'm Gregory Mason. We're going to have some announcements, and when I say some, I mean a lot. Please be patient. We're going to start with Sandy Barrett, John Woolman.
Actually, almost good afternoon. Okay. Okay, put it close, okay. Thank you to those of you who wrote postcards in support of those at the LGBTQ Center last Sunday. There will still be some available during coffee hour today.
On Sunday, December 22nd, the 8th Principal Committee is inviting you to participate in the opportunity to help our trans brothers and sisters by making go bags. So if people need to leave their homes in an emergency, unprepared, if you are able to pick up some of these items, we will be collecting them here at the church. Socks, flashlights, hand sanitizer, bottled water, hats and gloves, ponchos, toothbrush and paste, first aid kit, protein bars and cards. Credit, gift cards, right, thank you. If you are able to pick up those items and bring them here to church, Sandy and I will be at coffee hour to collect them. If you prefer to donate money for this project, we'll be thankful for that. This will also be in the unifier.
Regarding gift cards, there's a scam going on right now that many of you may have heard about, where somehow the amounts are taken out before you purchase the card. And when you go to use it, the amount on the card is zero. So be very wary of that. It might be better to order cards right here in OBUUC. Cards like grocery, drugstore, gas, fast food, things like that. That way the church benefits too. Also, I would ask you to share this information with any undocumented people that you may know. Suggest that they also put aside some money as they are able to do so, so they have some cash if they need it to move quickly. Okay, thank you.
Diane Lang handed me a page of announcements this morning, so I will read those. The Social Justice Committee invites you to help write holiday messages of hope and kindness to incarcerated people as part of the Church of the Larger Fellowship Unitarian Universalist Worthy Now Prison Ministry. Join us this Tuesday morning from 10 to 11:30 at Wilson's Coffee and Tea on Washington Avenue. Patty Riemann and Diane Lang will bring card supplies. You bring your favorite pen. Shirley Reynolds is also hosting a Worthy Now Prison Ministry house party for writing these messages on Thursday, December 5th from 1 to 3 p.m. There are still 2 slots open. Call Diane or Shirley to reserve your seat. The Social Justice Committee will be hosting the Saturday Brown Bag Lunch Program at St. Luke's Hospitality Center on Saturday, January 11th. This is a multi-generational event to make up 72 sack lunches. We invite you to donate supplies or your hands for this rewarding project. The sign-up sheet is posted in Erman Hall by our OBUUC table. The Children and Youth Christmas Pageant will be held on December 22nd during the 11 a.m. service. There are speaking and non-speaking parts. Sign-up deadline is today. See Leanne. The deadline for paper raise right orders is today. The next deadline is December 15th, just in time for Christmas. See me if you need a form. There will be a joint grief service led by Pastor Darren Utley and Lisa Scott Patak this Thursday, December 5th at 7 p.m. The holiday season is a time of joy and gatherings, but it can also hold sorrow and loneliness. Come join us for a gentle service of light, love, and healing. We will be having a service of lessons and carols on Christmas Eve at 4:30. Next week, Pastor Darren will be with us, and the following week on the 15th, Reverend Dr. Tony Larson. You will be receiving an email this week from the Board of Trustees and the search team about doing a search for a developmental minister. The email contains information about developmental ministry and why it could be a good choice for OBUUC. Please read the document and bring your questions about this kind of ministry next Sunday. The search team will be available after the service to answer them. There are some opportunities to partner with First Presbyterian for the holiday season. You can join in decorating the sanctuary with poinsettias from Milligers. A completed form with payment of $22 is due today. There are some forms over there, and please make it to First Presbyterian Church, and then First Presbyterian partners with Julian Thomas School, and there are 2 ways to help spread holiday cheer for those families. First, add your donation of toys, crafts, etc. to the box in Erman Hall. This opportunity ends next Sunday. Secondly, donate money towards the Aldi holiday gift cards that will be distributed to Julie and Thomas families. Go to the First Pres website to donate. There are flyers available on the table by the hymnals. See Ruth Bradford Johnson with questions. For more information and details about some of these announcements, along with others and community announcements, see your monthly and Sunday emails. Normally, the deadline for submitting news for the monthly unifier is the 25th of the month. As the 25th this month is Christmas, the deadline for submitting news for January is December 20th. So keep that in mind. Thank you to our volunteers today, our ushers, Kathy Carson and Joe Cushing, our Zoom host, Shirley Reynolds, our coffee hour hosts, Diane Kunselman and Diane Lang, and Leanne brought an apple pie that she made. Please stay for coffee hour following the service. For those on YouTube, log into Zoom after the service for your coffee hour. The link is in today's email. Thank you.